Sorry, trying to adjust my light so it's not in y'all's purview. So sorry about that. All right, so tonight, as you know, it's a week before Christmas Eve, and everybody who sews is probably doing last minute gift ideas or orders, whichever. I'm doing a little bit of both. I have an order for a place for everything bag. If you don't know what a place for everything is, I'll show you mine. So this is a place for everything. It literally does have a place for everything. It has pockets on the outside, a zipper pocket, and then a slip pocket, two slip pockets on the outside. As you can see, this is my personal one. I have stuff in it. And then it also has removable pages. Apparently, I had stuff just fall out of it. Removable pages, which are held in by this strap. And if you can tell, yes, it's Tula Pink again. I'd have a little fascination with Tula Pink, and I'll go ahead and admit that now. But this one is, it has zipper pockets on front and back of each of these, or it has a vinyl pocket that's a slip pocket. A lot of people use these for their cross stitch or other crafting. I use it for stuff I'm cutting or working on at the moment, whatever project I'm working on. So I have a customer who ordered one of these that is using the new Graywork line from Tula Pink. I can show you the ones I'm doing. So I'm working on the removable pockets today. This is one of the Graywork lines, and that's the lining. As you can see, I have already marked pockets. So these are, all the measurements are in the pattern, of course. This will end up being 2 pockets. This will be 1. And this is 2 pockets, 1, 2. And then I do kind of the opposite on the other side. So if you see, I've got the short pockets on one side, and it's the same way with the vinyl and webbing pockets on the other side. But I have the 2 pockets of the bigger pockets on top on both of them, actually. Usually I alternate them. I guess I wasn't paying too much attention. And then I have one big pocket down here, and 2 small pockets, whereas here I have 2 and 2. Doesn't really matter. This is, like I said, this is one of the fabrics that I have. Let me grab those others. That's actually going to be the inside. For her front of her bag, we have this gorgeous wolf print. This is the dark version of this print, and we have the dark version, welcome, of this cheetah print. This is going to be the slip pockets on her bag, and this is going to be the zipper pocket, which is why, if you notice, I have serged at the top of this pocket because it is going to have a band on top that will, thank you very much, that will be up against the zipper pocket. So that's the reason I do the up against the zipper. So you don't want a raw edge against your zipper. Welcome. Whereas this one will actually have binding at the top of the slip pockets. So it does not need to be a finished. And so, like, I have the serging at around the main body of the bag as well. I can actually show you that on my bag. And it's not required you do that in the pattern. That's just something I do to not have when you quilt stuff. So if you can see, you kind of get like raw edges kind of sticking up. So I don't like that. So I like mine. So just to show you what it looks like when it's up against, if it's serged, you can't really tell it's serged because when you attach this, but you don't have any raw strings hanging out or anything like that, other than some fuzz, but no actual like threads coming out or anything like that. So that's the reason I do that. So my suggestion is always to either use an overlock stitch or a serging stitch just to kind of tamp down. But But what I'm doing today is one reason I showed you the one side marked is I am working on the zippers for the removable pages. So let me take my pages out actually, and I can show you. So what these will look like when they're done. So like I have 2 pockets here. And for this one, in mine, because of this was my particular one, I only put big pockets of these. But I have the bigger pocket here and 2 small pockets, which is why you have 2 sets of zippers. And then I have the bigger pocket down here. But the other one I have 2 sets of pockets here. But see, like I said, I didn't divide these. Thank you very much. I do sell these. You can custom order them if you go to my Etsy site, which is under Soul Turtle Boutique on Etsy. You can custom order it and pick all your fabrics and everything. This is not one I would sell. This is mine. Particularly, I have used it for about a year now, and very particular with it. So, but on the back of these pages, what's really cool, you also have a full-on zipper pocket here, and a slip pocket here. But also, I don't want to sell a bag that I have been using for over a year either, because that's not fair to any customer that I have. But these are removable, and they come with like what's called a page strap, if you can see, and it holds the pages in there, and then we zip it up. Awesome. Welcome. Glad you made it. So I will set that to the side. So this is what I'm working on for my customer. Oh, that sounds like fun. Animal Crossing is cool. I played a little bit, but not enough that I know a lot of the characters. I know the Dodo brothers because I made my daughter an Orville and Wilbur bag a couple of years back for her Switch. But so what I'm doing today is I started working on this before I came on with y'all. So we have to attach zipper tape to mesh. And if you've never worked with mesh, if you look, will stretch depending on which way it's turned. But you just want to clip it all the way down just so that it is the right. So I had to, I had a snag in my bobbin thread. Well, you're welcome to come back anytime. I do this every Wednesday except for next week because next week will be Christmas Eve. So I will be doing family stuff. But I'm here every Wednesday at 9 o'clock. So feel free to come join anytime. But I'm going to go ahead and move y'all to the machine, and I'm going to show y'all what I'm doing with the zipper tape. I have attached it. And if you see, I have laid it over top of the zipper tape to do a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Most of this bag is sewn with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. This is a by Annie pattern, and it's called A Place for Everything 2.0, which I think is a really cool pattern. I love the by Annie patterns, which are promoting you to quilt. Now, if you look, mine is very simplified quilting. I don't do all the circles and everything, but I like how clean my stripes are. And if you can see, I actually used rainbow thread in my quilting. So I find you can use accents and things like that. So I'll move y'all to the sewing machine, and we'll just do this for a little while. This is not the most exciting. I'm prepping all my zipper panels. I found it's easiest. And I know somebody's going to ask me, well, where's the zipper pull? Well, I haven't put them on yet because I find when you're sewing, until you need to put them on, it's better not to. And that's just come from habit so that it's not in your way, because otherwise you're having to constantly I use this is the Phoenix Fire. I'm not Phoenix Fire. This is Unicorn Mane from Wizard Stitchery. Even though I do have Phoenix Fire as well. This specifically is Unicorn Mane because since the Tula Pink had pink in it, I wanted the rainbow thread that had the pink. So I have top stitched this. So now while I have this, I have my zipper pulls. Now I'm just using my customer mostly who just wanted a plain silver. So just heads up for doing zipper pulls. I'm going to thread it on. So whenever I thread them on, I open it and I will slide each side of it in. Helps if I actually get both in there. And I'll try to make sure, whoops, and then don't drop the pull. Okay. And what I do is I actually will look into the zipper pull as I'm looking. And if you can see, it is even. And then I start pulling it up. And then I will slide it on. Now at this point, we want to seal our zipper tape in. In other words, put basically a stopper on it but what I will do is I will actually go ahead and trim down. And yes, I'm grabbing a handy dandy lighter. And I will trim down even with my mesh on both sides. And I'm going to flame my zipper tape. What this does is it melts the fibers so that it will not fray. That's the word I'm trying to think. It will not fray. And I will do that to the other side as well. And yes, I do start cutting from the mesh side. And the reason I do that is because I want to make sure it's even with the mesh. So yes, y'all get to see me play with flame. So now that I have, this is one of my ones that are going to go on the back of the pages. And I have to do 2 of those. Now, a lot of this bag is the prep work. So I'm just putting my stopper so that if I accidentally pull my pull off, it won't actually go all the way off. But I wanted it out of my way while I attached it. So I kind of do it about 1/8 of an inch from the edge. It'll be in my seam allowance, so you won't ever see it. And I'm just trimming my thread. So this bag is not the most difficult. Welcome, Annette. Glad to see you back again this week. It's not the most difficult. A lot of this one is actually prep work. And right now I'm just trying to make sure I've got the right size zippers on the right size mesh. So this, like I said, these are the bigger mesh pockets that are on the back of these pockets. So what I will do is actually now another way you could do this, I always sew it from the front, and you can clip it so it doesn't stretch or anything like that, but you can also sew these onto the back and fold it down so that you don't see the mesh except sticking down. But this is my preference, to do the sewing onto the front of the zipper tape or right side of the zipper tape, right sides together. Just like if you were doing almost any other thing, you would be sewing right sides together when you're adding it to your zipper tape. But you can do it either way. But you could put it right side to the Because there's really not a right or wrong side to mesh, but you could put it to the wrong side of the zipper tape, then fold it down as well, and then top stitch it. Either way works. This is the A Place for Everything 2.0 by Annie. I showed it just a minute ago. Grab my pattern and show you so I don't have to pull the whole bag up again. Because I have one of these that is my own that I use a lot, carrying stuff around to places. I'm actually working on this. I'm making a Gamers Night Out wallet for my brother's Switch out of Star Wars fabric. I'm also making a Austin mini book bag, which is by Stitchcraft Patterns that's Alice in Wonderland for my sister-in-law. And then I have a mini Poppins bag for my mother that I've got to finish. Almost everything's cut out, but we're getting down to a deadline. Which sometimes I work better that way. So what I'm going to do, like I said before, so you can see I have it like that. So we're going to at 1/8 of an inch or from the edge of the zipper tape, I will top stitch. And then I'll set these two to the side because we have to do all our other zipper pockets out of mesh before I can attach these. My goal for today was just to get these completed onto the and get the bags done. I still have to make my bias binding, so I haven't planned on binding today. But bias binding is a little more difficult to make than just using regular binding. But I am making it also using part of the Grayworks as well. Like I said, so I'm going to take it down and I will trim it. And you will have to trim down more off of this after you add it to the page. You'll trim off the excess and trim around the corners. But you need this length to start with. And I'll show you that as I do the other pockets as well. All right, so we are going to trim that down. A little piece of the zipper tape decided to fly up. Okay, so I'm going to slide this on. So I have that one going up, so I need it going up that way. So as I said before, I just open my zipper tape. Now I've had several of my people go, how do you get it on there so fast? It's called, you make enough bags, you get to where you can just kind of do it on your own. I know a lot of people use a jig for their zippers. I don't. So we are good to go. So as you can see, nice and flush. So I will slide that on about halfway through, and then I will put I guess you could say I'm adding my stop by just doing a stitch and reverse stitch over the zipper coils. That's just a very quick zipper stop. It's in your seam allowance. It's just going to prevent you from accidentally unzipping your zipper pull. So, and she does actually suggest doing that in the pattern as well. Now, if you notice, one thing I do with this pattern that does cut down on prep time and everything like that, instead of she has you use woven fabric and cotton strapping to make the straps. I use webbing. It takes out several hours of my time. So, like I said, for those who just came in, this is the A Place for Everything bag by Annie. It's a good size bag. This one's mine. And the one I'm working on is for a customer. And I've got rainbow teeth, but I've got silver hardware. Thank you. But like I said, I've not made a single one of these. I've made about 6 of these bags in this past year, and I've not made a single one without webbing. Mainly because why makes things harder for yourself? If they're easier, why make it harder? So I'm going to set my 2 big zippers. These are what will go on the back. So I have that along with my clear vinyl, which will be my vinyl pockets on the back of the pockets. And if you can see, one thing I've already done because I did this earlier, this is 1-inch fold over elastic. You can actually see the color of the thread more on that because it's popping against black. And I have encased them. I've also already done a mesh pocket the inside of the bag as well with the fold over elastic. It says 20 millimeters, which is a 3/4 inch fold over elastic, but I really like the way the inch looks. But either one would work. You could probably make it work with the 5/8. My preference is to have at least a 3. So I'm going to set these 2. I don't know that I'll get to these tonight, but they're prepped and ready. That's what I was doing. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to prep 1 page's worth of pockets, which in this case, both of my pages have 5 pockets. So if you can see 5 things of zipper tape, put it that way, not actual pockets. So we have, if you actually want to count, depending on which one you look at, one of them has more pockets than the others. But for actual zipper tape, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And so I'm going to fix 5. So I have 5 to do for each one. But this is also going to change depending on how many pockets I have on each line. So if I have 2 pockets, then I'm going to do less. And the reason why I didn't have my big pockets divided is I ran out of my sewing machine zipper pulls when I was making mine, and I wasn't going to wait. So yeah, I just went for bigger pockets. All right, so in this, I've already cut my mesh. I have my mesh for the shorter pockets and the mesh for the bigger pockets already cut. I said these are all measurements because with the by Annie patterns, you don't have any pattern pieces. Everything is cutless. So even it says cut these pieces, quilt it, then cut it down. So it's sometimes extra pieces of cutting. So for each one, I'm gonna need 2 pieces of the bigger for the big pockets, and I need 1, 2, 3 of the little ones. And I will go ahead and put together one whole thing for these. So first, I'm going to do my big ones first because that's what's on top of my stack. And just in case you're wondering what I'm drinking that's pink, I put strawberry Crystal Light in my water. So heads up, that's all that is. All right, so I'm going to move y'all back to the sewing machine. Move my lighter out of the way till we're ready to trim off. Now, I will tell you all of these zipper tape is longer than my pieces, no matter which piece I'm looking at. And I think she does that just so you have a little bit of leeway in case like your mesh gets stretched out or anything like that. Yeah, I try to keep up my water intake, so if it means having flavored water, I have flavored water. I'll drink water, but I much prefer if it has a little flavor to it. And I try not to overdo on my sodas, which I want to do. So I'm just, now, if you feel better, you could clip these. I don't. I just try to make sure I'm not stretching the mesh. but I find it's just as easy to hold it in place as it is to clip it in place. It saves me time in the long run. I know some people say, oh, but I have to have it clipped. Well, that's fine. You can have it clipped. This is my personal preference. Like I said, I hope to have, I'm actually working on a sling bag pattern. Hopefully I will have sometime next spring. I got to do a lot more work to it though. And get through some of my biggest markets. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and top stitch this, and then we'll worry about getting all of them trimmed and zipper pulls on them. I find that's easiest because then I can say, okay, so what one do I need for this? Okay, so there's one zipper tape done. One random little thread's trying to be annoying. All right, so I'm just going to set that to the side, and we're going to go ahead and grab our next piece of zipper tape and do the same thing. I said, in some ways, this gets a little tedious. I said, I just kind of center it. You are going to trim off excess, so as long as you make sure that you're not to the edge of your zipper tape, you're fine. So we are just zipping along, literally, along the zipper. And like I said, I just kind of hold it and then stitch. Are there any questions so far? Like I said, this is just a lot of this. Like I said, I've got. I'd love to know what everybody's working on for Christmas stuff, whether presents or orders or things like that. It's always interesting to see what other people are working on. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and top stitch our next one. And one reason I said I'm just going to go ahead and get all these done, then I'll trim them and put the zipper pulls on them. Okay, so there's our two big ones. So we're going to do a little one. Oh, that's cool. That sounds interesting. I think I've heard of floor tiles before. No, I've also had my embroidery machine running pretty much nonstop lately. I'm actually working on a strike right now for a designer. I do tests for string theory. So I can't show you that, but I've also been working. I sell stitchable orc trays for cross stitch people, and I've been making a lot of those lately for customers. Oh, that's cool. Turtle ones would be cool. My bathroom, even though I have a lot of things in the house that are turtles, my bathroom is actually Starry Night. And right now, my guest bathroom is Christmas Snoopy. So There's all kinds of different things you see and showing. But no, I have, like I said, making a mini Poppins. They're making a mini book bag, and these are the bags that look like pocketbooks that look like books. So like book covers. And my sister-in-law mentioned she likes Alice in Wonderland, so I'm going to make her one using this awesome Alice in Wonderland fabric that's actually based off of the Lewis Carroll Alice in Wonderland, not the Disney Alice in Wonderland. I'm not the biggest of that design style. Well, I'm going to be making one, and my teenager has already requested one for herself for Harry Potter after the busy season. Well, what it might be is that might be part of her birthday in March. So there's our first little one done. I got two more for to have all the ones prepped for this page. Main reason I did the big ones that I didn't mix up the zippers because they're different lengths, and those two that go on the back of the page because they go from the top to the bottom are longer. And knowing me, I would accidentally use the wrong zipper and go, why am I short a zipper? I mean, I have other zipper tape that I could cut from if I've done it, because I have done that before. So just trying to make sure I don't invite trouble. I actually found one for my daughter that was Robin Hood. That's a lounge fly. Found it at TJ Maxx and she loves it. It's one of her favorites. Even though she usually just carries one of the pocketbooks I've made her, just because I've never made one like that. But she'd rather carry one of mine, is what she says. So that will be maybe down the road for her birthday. She turns 18 in March. So biggie. She's finishing up all her finals this week. Well, most of them anyway. She has one that's not till the end of the month, but I mostly carry a bag that I make. But in that regards, I also, right now, I'm actually carrying a Vera Bradley that my husband bought me last year. That's a Christmas Vera Bradley. A lot of times I will this time of year carry a Grinch purse that I made a few years back. So it just depends. We have one more of these to prep, and then we'll look at our pockets and start attaching them. And I will tell you a trick once we figure out our placement for our zippers, why I'm not cutting down the sides yet, because we will have to trim these down no matter what. All right. I was wanting to make sure, looking at my instructions, to make sure I had in my head. It's been a month or so since I made my last one of these, so I have to refresh myself on some. You're very welcome. I really like biannie patterns. I think I just liked collecting them for a while before I finally decided to brave it. Actually, last Christmas was the first biannie pattern I made. And of course, I pick one of the harder, doing the A Place for Everything for my first by Annie. After that, I've done the On the Go 2.0. I've quilted my fabric for the In Control bag. I'm using the border print from Tula. That's the dinosaur from the Roar collection. I love dinosaurs. So the fact that she put out a fabric for dinosaurs just made, and it's in teals and lime greens, just made my heart happy. She did it in pinks too, but that's more my daughter than me. My first by Annie was the A Place for Everything, so I didn't pick an easy bag to start with. I picked the probably one of the harder or more complex by Annie patterns. So we're going to do our last top stitch here. I haven't tried that one. Like I said, I have made the On the Go 2.0, which is the little shoulder bag. I use that with the Untamed line, yet again from Tula. I do really like Tula, but I have another person who has ordered one of these that is due out like by end of January, that is using the Echinacea Glow fabric from, my brother's not wanting to think where it's from. It's another Free Spirit fabric, but it's not Tula. But it's it's the same fabric I used on the very first bag that I made for my mom last Christmas. So they wanted one like that, except instead of purple accents, they wanted orange, which I think is really going to be kind of cool. All right. All right. So I have 3 of this size. And you notice I don't have pulls on them yet. And that's partially because of. Now, I will say this one definitely uses all the hardware. It uses about 20 pulls. Actually, I think I'm using 21 pulls, something like that. I may be wrong, but these, and I have 2 of this size, the bigger ones. So I'm going to do the first one. Now, the first thing is, it is directional. So I want to make sure my zippers are at the top. So this is where I will do these first. So I'm going to do the small ones first. Actually, we'll go ahead and do the big ones first because it's on the right side. So I will set my 3 little ones to the side. And I'm going to set one of my bigger ones to the side. So now, since my top one has a division right here, and this is going to be on the right side, if you can see, you will have to trim mesh off. So I don't really need to trim that zipper tape. But what I'm going to do is I need to trim it for the center. So I will trim towards the center on both of my bigger pieces and use my lighter. Okay, there's my, I was like, where'd my other bigger piece? But it folded itself up. I was like, where'd it go? It was camouflaging itself. Okay, so we're going to do a little flame. I always have a handy dandy lighter. There are other options than this. I just find lighters easier. All right, so I'll set that to the side. So now, since I have 2, I'm actually going to feed 2 zipper pulls on here. on my zipper tape. Now you can do it where they're facing each other. I actually do it usually in a line. And so, like I said, I look down in the center of my pull, and if they look equal, then I just pull. So I'm actually going to put two on the come in the same direction, so that when they open the pockets, they open the same way. You can come where they open in different directions. All right, so but this is the point. Now, if you notice, I am not making my zipper stops here. That's because I'm going to do it as I stitch around this. So we have made 2 marks on here. So if you can see right here, I have 2 marks that I've made. We are going to place it to the inside mark because this other mark is the page facing, which is basically what you use to cover up all of this. And I don't have my page facings interfaced yet, or I'd show you what I was meaning. So I'm going to use my straight pins and pin this here across. So I am pinning. I will show you what I've done after I've got it pinned. Now I am not going to pin. I am only pinning at the zipper tape for one reason. Welcome back. So just to show you, I have pinned it in place. So you can see how it rests down here. It will go over the line that we have to divide our 2 pockets. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take here and not stick myself with the pin apparently, but take here. So I'm going to run across the top. So, and I'm going to stitch around here using a 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. I believe that's what I need to use. Hold on just a second. It's been a while. Yes, an 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to be using an 1/8 of an inch, so I'm going to stitch around right here and stick myself with the pin yet again. And I'm going to go right below this line and stitch an 1/8 of an inch below that. Well, if you actually look in close, the stitching is actually rainbow, if you like the rainbow. So let me stitch it and I'll show you what it's going to look like, and then we'll get the next big pocket on. All right, so I'm going to move y'all to the machine. All right, so like I said for this one, biggest thing is that I make sure I'm over to that line, inside line, and I will stitch this down using an 1/8 of an inch. Now, if you've never watched any of my stuff, I'm not usually using a mark on here because I have what's called a narrow foot on my machine, and it is an 1/8 of an inch wide. So I usually just put it to the edge of my zipper foot, and I'm covered. It's not a zipper foot, sorry. It's a narrow foot. But I put it right to the edge of the fabric, and I know I'm in the right spot and stitching the right amount. Need to not stitch the needle. That would help. That's why you get rid of kind of crunching sound. Now I'll show you right quick once we get done why I did not worry about trimming off this excess here. Because we are going to go over that right now and basically make another zipper stop. So I actually will reverse stitch over this and then stitch over it again one more time. So we go all the way down. And we go an 1/8 of an inch past that line that we've drawn for the second pocket, which is basically our center line on this side. Yes, all this is quilted by me. So I am sewing at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, and we'll go back up the other side. And yet again, we're coming to where I would have normally gone ahead and put a zipper stop. So I'll reverse stitch and go over it and basically stitch back up again. Okay. Now this is what happens when somebody orders a bag from me, or even if I'm just getting it for a gift, I always put my 110% in it. So if you can see, we do have a line here. I'm going to actually take and stitch from the bottom up to the top and make that two separate pockets. And yet again, when I get to the zipper tape, I will also go over this back stitch, basically creating another. Okay. Okay. And I will trim down the. My bobbin ran out. Gotta love when that happens. Of course, but at least it wasn't too bad. So I was wondering why it was feeling weird. All right, so we have our next bobbin. I have pre-wound I have two more bobbins that are already pre-wound. I think I started out winding 4 for this, and I've already gone through 2 or 3 of them. I think 3, because I wound an extra bobbin just to be on the safe side before I started tonight. Okay. So now I was like, when I went to trim on the backs, when I noticed that, it's like, oh, my bobbin ran out. Sometimes you just keep sewing and not realize. All right. So we have one pocket completed. So what we're going to do is we're going to trim off the excess on the sides and across the bottom seam. And I have people ask me, well, isn't it already attached to the thing? Would you still use a lighter? Yes, I do, because that still makes it nice and finished. So what I'm doing is I am trimming it down to about 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, so that it will be encompassed under the other zipper tape. Apparently I'm flinging little mesh pieces everywhere and trimming stuff off. All right, so we have our 2 pockets. So if we unzip, you can see I have a divided pocket here all the way down in the center here. So I'll zip that. And I'm not going to zip this one, but it is, when I open it, it does go all the way to the center. So I can go ahead and do that if I wanted to. And it opens, but I want to leave this closed right now because I'm going to have to put my page facing. So what goes next is that we take our other big section, which is right here. It's like, where did I put it? And we're going to line it up with that line underneath the other. And you can use pins. It also needs to be into that inside line. You can use your fingers. I'm just kind of holding it there in place. Like I said, it's whatever you're comfortable with. And we're going to do this, and we don't have, now, if you notice something, I forgot to put a zipper pull on here. It happens, but I haven't gone past the point of no return, so we're going to put a zipper pull on real quick. I went, wait, I don't have to have 2 zipper pulls. Well, you still have to have one. I've had to take things out before when you forget that, so at least I didn't forget it. Could have been interesting. I'm going to pull this in towards the center a little bit. Okay. Basically to get the pull past my zipper foot, my not purse foot, sewing machine foot. Apparently I've got purse in my head, so. All right. Make sure it's laying flat. And like I said, this is where I add my quote unquote zipper stop. So basically I'm stitching that zipper closed 3 times. And at least I put my zipper pull on before I did that. I have done that before. It's not fun to have to take out and then put it back on. So always make sure you've got your zipper pull on at the right time. All right. So I'm just stitching down at the bottom of the page with an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. And then we're going to stitch our way back up. And not get my little hook of my foot caught on the mesh. That can be a pain in the rear. The mesh likes to stick to things or get caught on things very easily, which is why if I don't have to have like extra pins or things like that, I don't, because mesh can be so finicky. But that's just, like I said, that's my personal preference. And trim my threads. And then I'm going to trim around the mesh on this. And a lot of times I will trim from the back or of the page just because I can see what I'm doing and making sure I'm not cutting into any of my back when I'm trimming stuff off. Okay, and I'm going to trim down. Homework's not a bad thing to have to do. I definitely don't miss it though. Even though I seem to be helping a lot with my teenagers' homework. All right. So what I'm doing yet again, because zipper tape can fray, I do like to flame my zipper tape, even though it's attached to the bag now. I just be careful so I'm not flaming my foam or my fabric because I don't want to catch things on fire. I just want enough that I can burn the ends of my zipper tape. Okay, so there's one side completely done. I'm going to do the other pockets, and it's done the same exact way. So I'm going to go ahead and trim off the right side of each of my zipper tapes because I want that flat. And I'm going to do one thing that I do sometimes, which is to not trim a page not trim each section of the page, but trim the whole side of the page at one time. And I'll show you what it looks like when you do that. Okay, so here's my lighter. I'm going to flame these. So fire. So this is not in some ways, this is tedious, has to be done. And after this, it gets to be a little more interesting because you are doing the binding, the page facings, and all that. But so for the top one, we are only using one zipper pull. So I'm going to go ahead and put my zipper pull on. Now, sometimes you will see me fiddle with it more than others. So I'll put it to the center, and I will pin this, like I said, just like the last time. We'll actually pin this in place just because it's the top one more so than the other. And I want it to be very even with the top of the page. I want to make sure it stays in place. Welcome. And we have pinned all the way across. Right. So I will make sure that is even with that mark. Ow. And so we are going to sew right here, like I said again, using a 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Make sure if you're sewing that you move your zipper foot out of the way so you don't hit it. If you want to, you can take it in slightly past the zipper foot so you don't accidentally hit it with your needle and break said needle, throw said needle at your eye by accident. Ask how I know. I've done it. Luckily, I do wear glasses, so it bounced off, but that would have been a fun thing to explain in an emergency room. What? How'd you hurt your eye? A shattered needle came ricocheting towards my eye, and I wasn't able to block. That would be a lovely thing to tell a doctor, wouldn't it? Okay. And we just had a needle break, which happens as you go over thicker stuff, or if my needle had a flaw in it. If you saw me just a minute ago, you're very welcome. Feel free to join me. Like I said, I do this every Wednesday night except for next week. That was a fun trying to break a needle. Let's not do that. But see, definitely tell I'm live, because if this weren't live, y'all wouldn't see me do stuff like this and have to change a needle mid. So sometimes you hit something just right and it snaps the needle. I think it heard me talking about breaking needles, so maybe that was it. It didn't like me talking about it. But I think I'm going to call it a night. Once we finish this pocket, since I have broke a needle, I'm going to call it quits for tonight. Just want to finish stitching this one pocket down. And starting in January, we will, or should I actually say New Year's Eve, we will do something new. Not sure what yet. So we're going to actually start over here. Just because, since we had a little snafu. And yet it stitched that side of the zipper tape. No issue. Of course. The things that happen when you have an audience, right? Okay. We're going to finish this. Like I said, we're going to finish this one pocket. And then we're going to call it for a night for tonight. Now, I will not be working on this at the next live because I will have already hopefully shipped it off to my customer. So, but I will have other patterns I plan to do in the future as well. Like I said, I'm working on a sling bag pattern of my own. And hopefully we'll have that out this spring. All right, so that's basically what, so just to show you what it's looking like so far, we have one pocket up here. The next we'll have two pockets just like this. And when this is zipped, they will go like that. So I'm going to trim this down, and then I am done for the tonight. I will see y'all later, and I hope to see y'all not next week, but in 2 weeks after the holidays. I hope everybody has a great Christmas and a good holiday. I will see y'all next week.